It's another sunny day at the office, lots of pictures taken here because we are the first time here ever in Poland with an official FIA championship. Good morning and good day here at the ground at Tor Poznań for everyone. If you welcome to the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Ahead of race number 3, yes, the fans can pass by, no problems, it's the grid walk time. So it's completely packed. Everyone tries to get the best pictures, but I assure you we do have them because we got the VIP pass for you for the whole weekend. We're so excited to be here in Poland, and as you can see, the stands are packed. The fans are getting also the best view here on track. It's really nice. It's a place throughout the woods. You can see some branches up, no problem. Oops is the most heard word right now, but hopefully not on the racetrack right now. A couple of more minutes and we're going to see those giants here back on racing action for you. And so our commentators are ready as well. Chess record Joachim Eberts and Fonsi Cebrian. Hello, bienvenidos, and hi, you guys.
Yes, hello Christina, hello everybody, welcome to the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. I am indeed Chaz Draycott with my wonderful colleagues, I should say, Joachim Eberts and Fonsi Cebrian on the German and Spanish streams as well. And it's fantastic to have our wonderful fans on the grid for these events. They get to see these trucks up close. Look at the size of the turbochargers on these things. They, in most cases, have 12-litre, 6-cylinder, single turbocharged engines with around 1,200 horsepower and 6,000 Newton meters. Yes, I did not say that incorrectly. 6,000 Newton meters of torque. It's terrifying numbers in this championship, but great stuff and a wonderful spectacle all the same. The fans are going to be filling the grandstands around the circuit here. You can see, of course, the added safety measures of moving the barriers a bit further back from the circuit as they would normally do in truck racing. At the end of the day, safety is the utmost priority. We've had a great weekend here, though, at Tor Poznań so far. So much going on and off the circuit, but it's been great to see an interesting mix of drivers near the front end of the field. We've got Antonio Albacete starting on the front row alongside Norbert Kish for this third race of the weekend. But yesterday we had 3 brand new podium finishes for the 2023 season. Lucas Hahn taking the race win, the son of that man there, Jochen Hahn, if not the biggest legend in the sport, really. And we had also Steffi Halm on the on the podium with Lucas, and then also Jamie Anderson in third place as well, taking all of their first podiums of their 2023 campaigns. Jochen Hahn, for example, has 4 podiums, actually 5 now, after this weekend to his name this season, and a race victory as well. There's so many fantastic statistics, though, behind Jochen and his wonderful team. They really have accomplished a lot in their time in the sport. It's been wonderful stuff to see. As you can see, though, the spirit of the event is very much spread throughout here. You can see some of the displays and the trucks in the background as well, just slightly up the hill from where the main paddock building is and the pit lane, of course. And then there's the big Tor Poznań Tower, which stands over the start-finish straight and looks over our wonderful grid down there. We're going to go back down to Christina, though, who has an interview prepared for us.
Yes, absolutely. I visited today Michał Sikora, the president of the Polish Motorsport Federation. Welcome. I've seen you just inspire the truck, and everyone is explaining everything to you. What do you think personally about truck sport?
Hey, it's fantastic because I never seen truck racing on my eyes before, but I had some, let's say, idea. My uncle was racing these trucks in late 80s, so it was a different world, but I really wanted to see it on my eyes, these trucks and this big racing, we can say, so it's really fantastic.
But have you been with your uncle then as he was competing?
No, I was quite young. It was different times, socialism times, with a curtain and everything. So we cannot move so easily outside of Poland. But of course, I have seen some pictures, some videos. But of course, it was a different world.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're so glad that we are right now in this world where we can compete here, and we were the first time here at Tor Poznań. Thank you very much for the great organization. We do have a lot of fun. The fans are enjoying it too. How do you personally enjoy these days right now?
Yeah, it's really fun for me because I really enjoy when the Automobile Club here in Poznań is doing a good job, because I really want to have something special in Poland, some new races, new categories, new classes, and this is something which we already brought here. So this is very good for us, for Poland, for Polish Automobile Motorcycle Federation, and for the Automobile Club here in Poznań.
Absolutely. And as you can see, the trucks are testing also the new techniques on the road. It's just a huge supportive system for the haulage system on the roads. So where do you see the market in the future?
Yeah, no, the Polish market for trucks is really big. We have a lot of companies working in this branch. So we have seen also a lot of spectators here, not because they love just truck racing, but also about this whole company and whole market on this. So I think it will really be something which will go on and will infect the market as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Back to you, Chaz.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Wonderful to speak to him there. Thank you very much, Christina. It's great to get an insight from everybody involved in these events. Obviously, there's a lot of federations and organisations that get involved in welcoming the championship to different circuits and locations all around the world. And obviously, the main talking point this weekend is that this is the very first ever visit by the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship to Tor Poznań. And it's wonderful to be here. It really has been a great circuit to go racing at. There is Sasha Lenz and some of the team from Jochen Hahn's team as well, all having a good laugh on the grid ahead of the first race of the day. They all get on so well in this paddock as well. It's really lovely to see the amount of times where you go into an awning to speak to a driver when you're in the paddock, and all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 other drivers in there as well, all having a chat with them, all just enjoying their weekend. We're certainly enjoying our weekend so far. So are the kids as well, with all of the inflatables and bouncy castles and all sorts. But we're going to have a quick look back at qualifying highlights now and just tell you how all of that unfolded. As per usual, it was Norbert Kish that was first out onto the circuit with an open track in front of him. They all head out in championship order for the first part of qualifying, and he managed to beat his own lap record that he had yesterday. But officially, lap records, of course, only count in the race, so he's going to be looking to beat that lap time when the race gets underway in a few minutes' time. It was a usual affair in qualifying 1 ahead of Superpole, but Sasha Lenz and Jonathan Andre had their laps taken away for overspeeding, so they had to stay out on the circuit while all of the other teams looked over their trucks and prepared, and the other drivers had to make sure that they could do their best to get into the top 10. Louis Requenco ended up dropping down after an improvement by Mark Taylor, who put himself into the top 10 positions and moved through to Superpole. Sasha Lenz also progressed after a late last-minute lap towards the end of qualifying 1. Jonathan Andre unfortunately struggling a little bit with the pace. Stefan Faas ending up outside of the top 10 as well, but it was business as usual for the rest of the teams at the front end. John Newell also ended up outside of the top 10 unfortunately, but Mark Taylor and his team were very happy that they got through to Superpole, and they were going to see whether they could move up from 10th on the grid any further into the pack. Norbert Kish and Sasha Lenz led the field round in the early stages, but it was Norby that would set a blistering lap time, a 1:56.606. 6:06, funnily enough, faster than Antonio Albacete by the end of the session. Sasha Lenz ended up in 4th place behind Jochen Hahn in 3rd, and Jamie Anderson and Andre Kurzim will line up on the 3rd row of the grid. It was a really exciting session though. We never knew who was going to go where on the grid, especially with a new circuit. It's new to all of us here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, and I cannot wait to see what they make of race 3. Now that the drivers have had the experience of what happened in race 1 yesterday, they know how a race stint will feel. They know exactly what elements of the race they need to work on. So there's so much that they have to think about. And then, of course, you have to play the game. You have to think about race 2 as well with the reverse grid. So the top 8 finishers will be reversed on that second grid. So if you win the first race, you will end up 8th on the grid for race 2. And there's a lot that you need to think about there in terms of your patience and picking your battles and making your way through the field. We had Lucas Hahn win the second race of the day yesterday, and it was great to see it. His second race win in the championship's history, and we hope, of course, for him that it's not just the 2 appearances that we're going to see of him on the top step of the podium. In just a moment's time, we're going to be welcoming our television viewers around the world, so thank you to those of you that have tuned into our live stream so far on YouTube and other social media platforms. We'll, of course, be handing over in just a sec, but we will be right back with you. We'll see you in a few.
Hello and welcome everyone. Dzień dobry and hello to the friends of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. The first time ever here in Poland in Tor Poznań. We are ahead of race number 3. So excited to be here for the first time. As you can see, it is grid walk time. The personnel has to leave right now, but they shared some nice pictures with the drivers and also the teams. We're so glad that everyone is in a good mood. You might hear some laughs behind me, but we are going to hear some more cheering up at the podium later on. Who's going to win race number 3? We had a mixture of podiums so far this Saturday. Norbert Kisch taking the win from the first race, and then it was Lucas Hahn with overall winner at the race number 2, and also of course then winning the Promoters Cup. We do have 2 categories for you. We've got the Titans and then we got the less experienced Chrome drivers. So it's going to be really interesting. Who are they? Who's going to win this race and how they compete? So our 3 commentators are there for you. If you like to join us on our English live stream, it's Chaz Draycott, it's Fonsi Cebrian with Spanish commentating position, and then of course our German commentator Joachim Eberts. And we've been here one day also at the new venue, and we like to experience everything here. The Innovation Camp, for example, is perfect. It's placed in the woods, or as I call the place beyond the pines. And as you can see, the Innovation Camp there is also really nice and attracting point for everyone, because our aim is to reach net zero at a couple of years. And yes, so we are really looking forward to this project, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can manage it all. Right now we're on biofuel, which is kind of 100% renewable, so the first steps are already taken. Who's in the lead right now? We're going to hand over quickly to our commentators and have a guess.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everybody. Chaz Draycott here, commentating from the UK. And as you heard there from Christina, we have Joachim Eberts and Fonsi Cebrian on the German and Spanish streams as well. It's Norbert Kisch on pole position once again. And I have to give a big shout out to my wonderful colleague Alice, who has let me know between races, as we were speaking earlier on, that the last time Norbert Kisch was not on pole position for race 1 or 3 of the weekend, it was actually in the Nürburgring round last season, where he had a black smoke infringement based on the sustainability methods of the championship. This is the circuit we're racing at, though, for the very first time in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. It is Tor Poznań in Poland, 14 corners, 4 kilometres, and some of the main pinch points are Devil's Smile, which is turn 3 in the middle of the map, Korn, which is Small Pan, turn 6 on the right-hand side as well, and then Radar just near the end of the lap as well. There's a lot of management of the weight and the inertia of the truck needs going on through there. Turns 11, 12 and 13. It is a great circuit, and it has provided some excellent action so far. I've really enjoyed our first visit here, and hopefully in future I will be on site for events at Poznań. It's a wonderful part of the world as well. I've got many friends that have been over there to this part of Poland as well and say it's just as beautiful as this circuit is. There's even an airport right next door, I should say, as well, which we've seen some of the aircraft in and out of. But what we're going to do is fly down now to Christina, who is with Sven Walter.
Yes, from Sven Walter Logistics. And in 2018, he decided, I do need a team. And you formed up a great team with Andre Kurzem as your driver. And we're 270 kilometers east of Berlin. So it might be kind of a home race, as you called it, as well.
Ja, das ist unser zweites Heimrennen, unser erster Heimrennen. Wir haben 260 Kilometer bis hierher, 320 bis Most. Ist irgendwie schön, nah dran zu sein. Wir haben 3,5 Stunden Anfahrt nur gehabt, waren relativ zügig hier, schnell aufgebaut. Haben Dienstagabend noch ein bisschen die Stadt erkundet mal vorm Rennen und denke, dass wir ein schönes Rennen heute haben werden.
So you said it's just only 3 hours, and then we got our tents up here at Poznań, and on Tuesday evening they even had the time to visit this city. Of course, the rest of the schedule is absolutely packed, getting everything prepared for the race right now. How happy are you with the outcome this weekend? Wie glücklich seid ihr jetzt, wie es gelaufen ist?
Also gestern war ich nicht ganz so glücklich gewesen. Im ersten Rennen Platz 9, hat natürlich im Reverse-Grid nicht Platz 1 gebracht. Haben uns im zweiten Rennen von Platz 9 vorkämpfen können auf Platz 6. Haben über Nacht noch ein paar Special Tools eingebaut und haben jetzt Platz 6 erreicht in der Superpole, und ich hoffe, dass wir auf Platz 4 reinkommen.
He's starting from P6. He said he built in some special tools during the night time because he was not happy from the outcome of the first race. He ended up on 9th position, but the second race was position number 6. Now we're going to see where you end up. Thank you very much.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sven Volter of Sven Volter Logistics. Great to have a chat with him as we fly through the flag onto the front row of the grid. Norbert Kirsch alongside Antonio Albacete, two of the big hitters of the championship, followed by two more of them as well, Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz on the second row. Definitely not ones to be messed with at all. The grid is being cleared of personnel right now, while this wonderful machine, the Ford F-Max, makes its way around our circuit here at Tor Poznań. The Ford F-Max is the official truck of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, and over 5 years, in creating the Ford F-Max, it was designed and tested by over 500 Ford engineers, over 11 countries and 4 continents. There was more than 200 prototype units of this truck, and there was over 15,500 hours of lab testing, and the road testing element of it itself took over 5 million kilometres across those 200 units. It was a real gigantic effort by Ford to really perfect this wonderful machine. We have two of them in the paddock. We have this gorgeous orange and black example, which gets driven around the circuit at very, very high pace, I must say. It may not look that fast on here at the moment because of the weight of the thing, but it really is a pokey bit of kit. There is also a blue and white example in the innovation camp within the paddock, which the fans can get up close and personal with and see for themselves. But it's a great addition, and we're very grateful to work with Ford, of course, Ford Trucks, on all of this. You can see all of their wonderful branding there in the background as well. That was a nicely timed shot, wasn't it? But it's great to work with them, great to have their support for the 2023 championship. And we hope that the partnership continues into the long run. As long as I've been commentating on the series, I've always seen these Ford F-Maxes at the events. So it's a great and strong partnership that gets renewed year on year. It's nice to see the refresh in the liveries, though, as well. We've had previously a very dark blue metallic machine, much like this one here, the Iveco S-Way, which you will now see taking to the circuit. But to differentiate between the two, it's nice to have one of them in this gorgeous metallic blue and the other in bright orange. Now, this Iveco S-Way is a very important bit of kit in its own way because it's powered by bio-LNG. It's a very different kettle of fish to your usual diesel truck, but it still has very similar performance levels. It doesn't lose any power or torque, really. There's no major compromise for the fact that it is powered by bio-LNG. You get these gorgeous big chrome round tanks on the side of them as well, which is an easy way to tell them apart. Actually, when you are on the road, on the highway, you'll see these machines and you'll be able to tell them apart. If you look for those big round tanks, you'll know it's a bio-LNG powered Iveco S-Way. It's got a big meaty cab to it as well. Very well furnished inside is the S-Way. It's a gorgeous place to be, very comfortable as well. I've been on many a hot lap with Frank the Tank around a lot of Europe's finest racing circuits in the passenger seat, even sometimes sat on the bed in the back of the cab in there and thrown around all over the place. I remember once I nearly went flying out the window, but that's just Frank's driving. He's a very, very potent driver. There's the gorgeous tower of Tor Poznań with everybody. Look at the grandstand little sort of balcony there, all packed, ready for viewing pleasure, of course, from all of those great people up there. They've got a fantastic vantage point of the start-finish straight. And again, you just get an idea there of the scale of our massive racing trucks on this grid. And just the scale of even the event. There's a fantastic amount of fans in the background there as well, all ready to go, watching the Iveco S-Way pace truck complete another inspection lap. Normally, the pace truck that we see here would be leading the field round on their green flag lap, but unfortunately, due to the very low bridge near the end of the lap here at Tor Poznań, it's just a little bit risky trying to get the Iveco S-Way underneath it at pace. So when they get down to this part of the circuit now, it's just about to go left through turn 7 in towards turn 8, which is called German, and then it will turn right onto the karting circuit that they have on the inside here at Poznań. It just rejoins the circuit there, actually, the tarmac that you can see. There'll be the white tram lines that they have for race starts within karting, which where they must adhere to. And then you'll see now the Iveco S-Way will pull over to the right-hand side and take the cut through as to avoid the bridge a little bit later on in the lap. But obviously, to replace the Iveco S-Way pace truck, we've had to bring in another machine from Iveco, so they're getting some good representation. And there is our mini pace truck, the little Iveco Daily 3.5-ton machine, which is still being driven very fast, I must say, by Frank the Tank. It's a sprightly little thing. It looks very happy to be doing its job. And Frank has been certainly putting it through its paces this weekend. I think it's one of the ex-team Schwaben truck machines. It seems to carry their white and orange livery on it. And it looks awesome for it. It's a really good, fun little piece of kit. And hopefully we will see it again at the likes of the Nürburgring or even Most in the Czech Republic. And there's no need for them there, because obviously the bridges and so on are a lot higher at those circuits, so we can get our S-Way underneath them. But even still, I think I'd love to see a return from this gorgeous little Iveco Daily. It looks so small and adorable in comparison to our racing machines, but still, it's doing the job at hand. And a big thanks to those that have provided it, and of course Frank for driving it as well. So let's take a look at the grid then, shall we? It's going to be Norbert Kish on pole position once again. It's going to be his 6th pole position out of 6 this season. He's alongside 3-time champion Antonio Albacete, the man with the most poles in the history of this championship, 284. Jochen Hahn is next up on the 2nd row, with title rival from last season, Sascha Lenz, alongside him. Sascha certainly looking to get that first victory of his 2023 season. Jamie Anderson next up, 5th on the grid. Strong performance by him and Andre Kurzim as well in the Don't Touch Racing team Iveco. They're followed by Jose Eduardo Rodriguez leading the Promoters Cup drivers, and then Stephanie Halm in 8th position in the number 44 Iveco. She got her first podium yesterday. Lucas Hahn got his first race win of the season yesterday, his 2nd in the championship's history, while Mark Taylor made it into Superpole and got into the top 10 in qualifying. Louis Requenco will start in 11th place alongside Stefan Fass on the 6th row of the grid. And then behind them on the 7th and final row, we're going to have John Newell in truck number 18, and then Jonathan Andre in truck number 66. Unfortunately, no Heinrich Clemens Hecker for these races today. They had an engine issue overnight, which they are not able to fix at the circuit, so we will not see them back out on the track today, which is a real shame. But we, of course, wish the team all the best and hope that they have a safe journey home, and obviously look forward to seeing them back on the grid once again in the near future. There's our gorgeous looking and gorgeous sounding grid, followed by all personnel vehicles of many shapes and sizes. But it's Norbert Kish that's got the job to do at the front of the pack in holding off Antonio Albacete. Antonio said that one of the downsides of him qualifying 2nd ahead of Jochen Hahn is the fact that he's going to be on the outside for turn 1, and it's not like somewhere like Misano where it's a chicane at the start of the lap. So if you're on the outside, you can then use it to your advantage and cut back across to the inside. You will be on the outside all the way around. It's one big 180-degree corner called Big Pan here at Poznań. So Antonio needs to make sure that he doesn't allow Jochen enough of a run to get down the inside into turn 1. There was a big check-up yesterday as everybody tried to hold the inside line. And, of course, a number of trucks went off, including Antonio, actually. But he'll be hoping for a clean start this time round, and no issues, and no damage, of course, either. That's one of the main elements of what happened yesterday, is they had damage to the front end of the truck. They had to basically bring him into the pits before the end of the race, and the black smoke rule had to be adhered to. But I'll explain that one in a little bit. You can hear turbochargers chirping away. The revs will rise, as will mine. The red lights will come on, and round 11 of the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship from Tor Poznań is underway, and Jochen Hahn must have got a really good initial launch, because he's dived into the middle of the grid trying to squeeze between Antonio Albacete and Norbert Kish. He's not managed to do it yet. Sascha Lenz nearly makes it 4 wide on the outside, but it's nightmare scenario for Albacete. He's been squeezed out wide, and that's not where you want to be at all around here. Jamie Anderson's gone down the inside of both of them and made it 3 wide. There's a bit of contact on the exit. Antonio's been, well, elbowed out wide is probably an understatement. As there's more and more contact, and oh dearie me, he's gone straight on. He's gone straight on and into the wall, and Antonio Albacete is off in a very, very big way. There's a huge shunt. Lucas Hahn has gone straight through the middle of the pack. Fantastic start by him. But Antonio, probably not knowing that they were 3 wide there, was expecting, well, very little to no contact, I imagine. Expecting Jochen Hahn to be over on the right-hand side much further than that. I imagine that would be a red flag, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure whether he's managed to carry on going. But through the smoke and all the drama, Antonio Albacete ends up in the barriers. And that is a massive, massive shame. Like I said, it was great to have him on the front row of the grid, but it's nightmare scenario, isn't it? Lucas Hahn in there as well, actually now up into 4th place, leading the Promoters' Cup. He's got ahead of Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and then put some trucks between him and his competitor. Andre Kurzim has now moved up into 3rd position as well. He started 6th on the grid. So some drivers really benefiting from that. Jochen Hahn certainly got away with it. I think it was Jamie Anderson and Antonio Albacete that came off worse there, actually. Jamie's lost a bunch of positions. And there is the number 23 machine being tended to. And hopefully Antonio is okay. We didn't see quite how hard he went into the wall. Admittedly, with everything that was going on, my production feed had gone a little bit grainy. Looks like he's able to move the truck, actually, which is good. But yes, the red flag brought out, understandably. And the race has been neutralised. I wasn't sure if something just broke on the truck and he stayed in a straight line onto the grass, but it looked to me like he was definitely going into the barriers with how much speed it was carrying through there. But everybody is brought to a halt, and I think Norbert Kish is just waiting to see whether they... Ah, yes, he did hit the barriers. Definitely hit the barriers there. The entire front bumper is gone. You can see the side skirts moved slightly. He can't seem to get his door to close either. I'm not sure whether it's bent the cab or something, and he's unable to get it to completely latch on. But apparently he's absolutely fine. I mean, we can see that by the fact that he's driving, which is good. But yeah, Antonio, you could see there actually just for a moment the glancing blow of where he'd hit the wall. The Armco deflecting the force. And obviously the truck not coming to a sudden stop and burying itself in the barrier. It's glanced off and continued on, so it's absorbed a lot of the energy, and he's been able to stop the truck safely and get going again. But for the 2nd time this weekend, and the 2nd race in a row, the T-Sport Bernau team have got a truck coming back to the pit lane with a lot of damage on the front end. Here's another look at it then. So Jamie Anderson's managed to find his way down the inside, and unfortunately for him, because they're 3 wide, there's just nowhere to go. And I'm afraid that our view was slightly obstructed, to say the least there. The camera wasn't behaving itself in that situation, was it? But as they just squeezed together, it ended up being, I think, Jamie Anderson pushed across the front of Jochen Hahn, which has then bounced Antonio Albacete out to the left-hand side, which is why that right-hand sort of side skirt is lifting up like that. It's been hit in the right-hand side by Jochen and by Jamie. Jochen Hahn was backing out of it and then sort of poked himself through the middle and got away. While then Jamie obviously had to deal with being turned across the front of them as well. But poor Jochen, there was nowhere really for him to go. He had Jamie on his inside, hoping that he would give him more room. But then he had Antonio on his outside, not knowing they were 3 wide in the first place. So difficult scenario to be in, but luckily everybody is okay. But the number 23 machine may not be, unfortunately, and Antonio is met with a grid much further up the circuit than he would have been expecting. And there is the penalty marker being placed back in. I told you they were really tall things. When you see them compared to the trucks, you think that they're normal bollard size, let's say. But they are over 6 feet tall. Now, it looks like the grid is actually being rearranged into the order that it should have been at the very start. So that's intriguing to see. With the damage, though, I don't think Antonio is going to be heading back out there. You can see that the door was actually hanging off the hinge slightly, so it wasn't really at the correct angle to be latched back on. And apparently the number 24 machine has come back to the pit lane as well, which is Stefan Fass. So I'm not sure what issue Stefan has had there. So hopefully whatever issue that is, they get that fixed. Because Stefan had a lot of bad luck yesterday. But Norbert Kish, in front of all of that, avoided all of the carnage, and he'll be maybe a little bit frustrated that he has to do it again and make sure that he gets another belter of a start. It'd be a great scenario for Sasha Lenz, though, if Antonio does not take the restart. Because then he's got a nice clean run down to turn 1 without anybody else in front of him. But now a bit of calm again falls over the circuit here at Poznań, and Antonio Albacete's T-Sport Bernal machine has gone straight back into the paddock, and the fans will now wait patiently trackside to see more truck racing action in just a moment. It does look like they've all just sort of been segregated away from the circuit, but based on where the barriers are here at Poznań, we move them away just to make sure everyone's safe. We're going to go back down to Christina, though, who's got a bit more of an update for us.
Absolutely, it's one truck family. You can see all the other personnel from other teams sprinting up here, trying to help Albacete. And he's out of the truck, and he was not really amused, I can say it like that. But as you can see, lots of helping hands. This is one truck family, everyone giving their best, maybe to get him back on track. It's absolutely frustrating for him since he started on the front row and P number 2. So he was very optimistic after the Super Bowl. But as you can see right now, they try to fix the door. This is a main problem too. If it can't get closed, then he can't get back on track, of course. But as you can see, he's not taking up his helmet. He's hoping for the best, and they're changing the tires. You can see the body parts missing, but they do not matter. The windscreen is broken though too, and I'm not sure if this is needs to be checked security-wise as well. But as you can see, they're all running around and giving up their best. Back to you, Chaz.
Thank you very much, Christina. And yes, the one truck family mantra comes very, very true and is open for all of us to see in these sorts of moments when there is a truck that has been stricken as part of a race and has the chance to get back out on track. So many people will come together to help them out. And to be fair, it was actually Antonio's T-Sport Bernal machine that was the subject of such happenings as well. Last season at Most, he had he flung a piston into the stratosphere by the look of it, and he had a complete oil pressure failure, and the whole truck basically caught fire at the back end, and whole engine needed to come out. And there was a good 5 or 6 of the other teams, because luckily we had quite a break between races, but there was another 5 or 6 teams around his truck and fixing it for them and helping them out with certain components and getting a crane in there, obviously, to get the engines out as well. They're 12-litre engines, so as you can imagine, they weigh quite a bit. So getting a crane in there and manoeuvring everything around the paddock that they need to, and people on hand to just help out with all sorts of connections and hosing and whatever else could be damaged by such incidents. It was lovely to see, and fingers crossed for the team that they can get it sorted very, very quickly and get him back out there. The 10-minute board has been raised just a couple of moments ago, so we won't have a massive delay here, but there is still potential that Antonio could rejoin the race. I'm not 100% sure on the regulation behind said rejoin, so we'll have to wait and see. But what we can see is that the guys there are working very hard indeed. You can see Franz Stahlberg there from the FIA. Actually, he's just climbed out of the cab of Antonio's truck. I think he may have been inspecting the windscreen and the front left corner of the cab just to make sure that it was still safe. Franz is a lovely bloke, he really is, and he's so good at his job. He's so switched on, you know, even when you just have a normal conversation with him in the paddock, there's elements of the weekend that he can recall and tell you about that you just wonder, how on earth can you remember that? You know, he's certainly a very switched on gentleman and the right guy for the job. We have a great team of personnel here, though, not just from the FIA, but of course from the ETRA as well, the European Truck Racing Association and ETRA promotion. The way that these events run is like clockwork. It's gorgeous to be a part of it. Honestly, I'm very, very lucky and very pleased to be so. There is the T-Sport Bernal team. You can see some of the guys from Don't Touch Racing Berlin as well. And don't forget, they don't always work on MANs. They've got Ivecos to work on as well. So it doesn't make too much of a difference when they know a lot of the components and how it all works. But there's certainly going to be a lot of work going into getting that door to sit now. And that's Big Tom working hard as ever. I don't think I've ever seen Tom not working or just sitting down, just having a beer or chilling out, to be honest with you. And he's a big, strong bloke as well. As you can see, they're just going to try and rip that bumper off, I think, so it's not flapping around during the race. But this is what we mean. The team effort, there's no mucking about. There's no messing whatsoever. They just get straight on with the job at hand. And even the tools that they use are very serious as well, as you can imagine. But look at that. He's just able to rip body parts off the truck. There is Xavier Martin as well from Goodyear. Tim Frost on the right-hand side of shot, speaking to Franz Stahlberg there. I think maybe checking that they can get Antonio out of the truck later now that Tom's closed the door. there is a bit more of the bodywork being taken away. And again, just an idea of the scale of these racing trucks. You can see just how colossal the body parts are on these trucks. Only a small piece has come off Antonio's machine, but it's almost as big as that entire Marshall. And it seems like they've got it all started and ready to go again, which is a colossal effort. They're just trying to give him some signals here to get it going. Christina is down there, though, potentially.
Yes, thank you very much, Chaz. As you've seen, the whole team worked very, very hard, and they were pointing out to Antonio, we got time. And one of the personnel said to him, keep calm, keep going, because of course he's absolutely high adrenaline level right now. But Antonio Albacete is such an experienced truck driver that he can cope the situation. And right now all he has to do is to maneuver backwards, and right now getting back to the pit. So huge applause, massive respect for everyone involved. Congrats to this team effort. As you can see, the applause from the fans here. Thanks.
Yeah, great turnaround that. Absolutely awesome. And hats off to our cameraman as well, and Christina for getting down there to witness it and be there in person for that turnaround. Awesome to see, it really is. And that's just a testament to how great this championship can be. Teams coming together to get the truck worked on. He will start from the end of the pit lane, maybe. They might actually wave him round so he can go and join back up on the grid. But I'm not too sure at this point. Like I say, in terms of the regulation that allows him to rejoin the race, I'm not sure at this point whether it would have to be a pit lane start once the field has gone past, or whether he will be allowed to join back on at the front of the grid. He should be in second place on the grid, but we'll wait and see. Doesn't look like there's much left of the front of the truck, of course. It will still have some negative effect aerodynamically, to say the least, but luckily for him, the trucks aren't the most aerodynamically dependent machines in racing. And oh, don't open the door, you'll never close it again. He's just opened the front left door on Antonio's truck, and I'm not sure how well they'll be able to get that to sit again, but we'll have to wait and see whether it does manage to re-latch on. You can even see it from that angle there, actually, just in the background. If you look at the door, it's on a bit of an off angle compared to the A-pillar, the front pillar of the actual cab itself. So I'm not sure whether they will get it to close or not, and it looks like he's actually having some trouble with it. Oh, dearie me. I'm not really sure. I've not got many words for that, unfortunately. That's one of those. There's Tom. You can see Tom absolutely caning it down the pit lane, probably screaming at him, saying, don't touch my door. But bless him. I mean, Antonio's probably been on the radio to say, this marshal's just come and open my door. Can you close it, please? It's probably one of the strangest requests that a driver has ever made. But here we go. This door will remain shut. Let me tell you that for free when it does shut. But this is one of those things. There's Tim Frost making his way down as well. It's just one of those moments in a race weekend. This frantic nature of what's going on. Just to get a door closed. You know, it's tiny elements like this sometimes that can spoil a weekend or affect it negatively. And look at that. There you go. Don't mess with Tom, everybody. Do not mess with Tom. That's what we're learning here. There's obviously something somewhere. The latch isn't sitting right, or it's twisted in a slight way. There you go. Thumbs up, and that's it. Job done. Fair play, Tom. Fair play indeed. I don't have many more words for that, but I tell you what, I'm going to be I'm cautious next time. I'm going to shake Tom's hand, I can tell you that. He's a lovely bloke, though, a really lovely bloke, and a very hard worker. And T-Sport, but now, I mean, we always joke about the fact that Tim Frost would sometimes prefer Antonio to bend the truck and cause an issue with it, so he's got something to fix when he comes back into the pit lane. But still, great stuff. Really top effort that by T-Sport by now. And there you go. The 1 minute board is raised up just in time. And we're going to be getting ready to go racing in just a moment's time then. It's a very exciting place to be, though, here at Tor Poznań. This circuit still holds quite a lot of its secrets away from our drivers. There's still a lot to be unlocked. But we have a lot of wonderful fans and a great atmosphere around the circuit as everybody prepares. That is the little karting circuit, actually, on the infield of the course that you can see there. Those red and white curbs are one of the long sweeping left-handers of the karting circuit, the sort of mini track within a track. I think with some of the smaller club racing championships that come here as well, they do race cars on said circuit. It's very twisty, but it'd be a great challenge, and I'd love to actually watch some of that in future, to be fair. But now the pace truck, the mini pace truck, the Iveco Daily, is making its way around from the front of the pack. I've just been told, actually, sorry, by Daria. Thank you very much to Daria for providing information as the race weekend goes on. She's in race control. That number 23, Antonio Albertetti, will be starting the formation lap from the pit lane. So he will be joining on at the back of the pack, I believe. So he's not going to have to make up a huge gap to the trucks ahead of him when it comes to go time. He's just going to be able to sit behind and take the start as part of the grid, but from the back of it. And there you can see him there, just in the background, forming up on the rest of the pack. And there he is now, making his way behind the field to join up behind Jonathan Andre and John Newell. An all-John final row, as pointed out by my wonderful colleague Alice earlier on as well. You can hear turbochargers once again spooling up and getting ready to go to unleash all 1,200 horsepower of these racing machines. But Norbert Kish is going to be a bit lonely at the front row. Sascha Lenz and Jochen Hahn will be excited to see what they can do, though, from the second row of the grid, especially with Sascha having that completely clean run down to the first corner. Nobody in front of him on that side of the track. But you can bet that Jochen Hahn will try and defend that inside line as best he can. Jamie Anderson will want a piece of it too, to try and squeeze down the inside once again. And on the subject of Jamie, I'm not really sure that much or any blame can be attributed to one driver in that incident. It was one of those situations. At the end of the day, Jamie's a racing driver. You tell him not to go for that gap that's down the inside of two of the biggest championship rivals we've seen. Jamie was just doing what all of us would do as racing drivers, whether it be in the real world or do it in sim racing as well. There's a gap there. He may as well try and take it, especially with the other two running wide. He knew that he'd get a good run out of the first corner and fly down towards turns 2 and 3, but I don't think that he bargained on Antonio being able to hold the pace around the outside and hold his position, which ultimately caused the contact that caused the red flag. Now we go through turns 9 and 10. This left-hander here is called Oaks. And then there's a small straight run down to turn 11 and 12, which is like a very smooth chicane, but you're hard on the brakes into turn 13 down at Radar, which is the corner you can see just there. And then they make this run under the bridge towards last right, which is turn 14, the final corner on this circuit, just less than 90 degrees. And a very high-speed corner at that. A lot of you that watch a lot of motor racing may have heard of Summit Point, a circuit in America. It's a very similar final sector to that course, actually, where you go under a very low bridge with a lot of trees and a forest around you, and then it suddenly opens up and you've got a fast right-hander as a last corner. That's the sort of circuit that this reminds me of, going through all the beautiful greenery and all through the trees with this last corner like that. It looks very similar, even from this angle as well, actually. But still, we're not at Summit Point now. We're over here at one of the finest circuits in Europe at Tor Poznań in Poland. And once again, take 2 for round 11 of the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. And we're underway. And immediately, Jochen Hahn has moved over to the left-hand side. I think Sascha Lenz has got one of his typically fast, lightning-fast starts. He's going to try and squeeze his way around the outside. He's got a decent overlap there ahead of Jochen. They're nearly 3 wide, actually, as he tries to go around the outside of Norbert Kish. Runs a little bit wide in the Iveco S-Way. Jamie Anderson wants to poke his nose down the inside once again, but that's his teammate now beside him. Jochen Hahn kisses the gravel slightly, gets a bit of a wobble, doesn't quite make it through completely tidy down there in towards turn 3 at Devil's Smile. There's a bit of movement in the middle of the pack by Steffi Halm by the look of it as she goes down the inside of Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. Antonio Albertetti's gained 2 places already over Jonathan Andre and John Newell. But it's Kish, Truck 1, P1, P2 is Truck 2 and P3 is Truck 3 as it is Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz once again chasing down the Hungarian 4-time champion, reigning champion now, looking to make it a hat-trick this season. Jamie Anderson looking very pokey behind his teammate as well. He had a great race yesterday, finishing 3rd on the podium, making sure it was not an all Iveco affair. But look at Norbert Kish leading the way now, oh so effortlessly, making it look very, very good, very smooth. Just the way that truck moves is almost elegant, isn't it? Which isn't something you'd normally say about a 1200 horsepower 5-ton machine. Mark Taylor going well ahead of Louis Requenco. And now, by the look of it, Antonio Albersetti has got past Stefan Faas as well, up into 11th position. Now, there's more points on offer for race 1 of the day compared to race 2 of the day, and there's been a 10-second time penalty given to Jamie Anderson. That must have been for the earlier collision with Antonio Albersetti, so he's been determined as the cause of said collision. And there's me saying there's no blame to be given. But still, Jamie will have that applied to the end of his race. So the timings that you see on the left-hand side, back from Norbert Kish, you'll have to add 10 seconds onto Jamie Anderson and figure out where he'll finish. At the moment, it'll be in last place, but as the field spreads out, that will change. As I was going to say, though, sorry, there are more points on offer for race 1 of the day compared to race 2 of the day. So race 1, you end up getting 20 points, and then it just goes down by a couple of points per position, eventually getting 1 point for finishing 10th. For the second race of the day, where the grid isn't as on merit, let's say, where you don't qualify to be at the front of the grid, you just have to finish 8th in this race, then there are 10 points available for a win, and it's just 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 through the top 10. So this race is important in terms of the championship points in comparison to the second race of the day. This is the one where the drivers will push that little bit harder to gain those extra points per position on their competitors. And Jamie Anderson now will be pushing more than ever to make sure that he can get ahead of his rivals in front and open up a gap to the drivers behind. You can see that Sascha Lenz now wants a bit of Jochen Hahn's Iveco as well. He wants to try and get by as quickly as possible. But this little trio still watching Norbert Kish disappear over the horizon. Again, a very solid performance so far by him, as Antonio Albersetti continues to try and rise back up through the pack. And through turn 13, down towards 14 at the last corner. Norbert Kish has opened that gap up to over 2 seconds now. And then Andre Kurzim's in a little bit of no man's land on his own there, but I don't think he'll be too sad about that, because he's not got anybody pestering him, anybody trying to take away positions from him. Steffi Halm isn't too far behind, though, so he needs to keep his eyes on his mirrors. Jochen Hahn's had a little bit of a shaky start here to this race compared to how he normally goes. Jochen's very switched on and knows exactly when to pick his battles, but right now he doesn't seem to have the pace lap by lap over the likes of Sascha Lenz and Jamie Anderson. You can see that penalty marker there getting affected somewhat by the blast of the air as these trucks fly through. Hard onto the brakes into turn 3 yet again. Jamie Anderson's going to be watching this, rubbing his hands together here, because if Sascha Lenz opens the door and tries to get past Jochen, he could have an easy ride and get another podium position, and especially doing that in the first race of the day would be awesome to see. Lucas Hahn was stuck there between Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and I think it was Mark Taylor that was in there with him, was it not? No, it was Steffi Halm, sorry, in front of him, and then it was Taylor, another position behind, my mistake. Antonio Albersetti was getting past Louis Requenco in the first sector and moving himself back into the points, and there you go, on the timing screen on the left, that has now updated. You just see him going through shot in the background. Stefan Faas actually taking advantage of that as well, trying to get himself into a podium position for the Promoters' Cup. But it's Lucas Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Mark Taylor that are currently on 4 positions on the podium. Lucas Hahn and Mark Taylor have been on both Promoters' Cup podiums so far this weekend. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez was first in the Promoters' Cup in race 1, and then John Newell was third in the Promoters' Cup in race 2. Now he's the one on the back of Louis Requenco, with Jonathan Andre just behind them in 14th place. But there's your race leader, championship leader, reigning champion, double reigning champion, Norbert Kish, Truck 1 P1. This is standard procedure for him and Reveish Racing now, isn't it? An amazing drive so far as he hits the penalty marker just on the exit of the corner. The air just blasting it over once more. Now you'll see Sascha Lenz in the number 3 truck moving all the way over to one side of the circuit there. That's because there's no point sitting behind the truck in front of you and trying to slipstream them like you would in other forms of motorsport. The trucks are limited to 100 miles an hour, 160 kilometers an hour. So all you're doing by sitting behind the truck in front of you is, one, risking the opportunity or risking the potential of overspeeding. If you go over 100 miles an hour for, I believe it's more than 2.4 seconds, then you will get an overspeeding warning and you will be given a penalty, basically. It's all on safety grounds as well, and obviously in the eyes of fair competition. But you will also be adding more hot air to your engine instead of cool air, or cooler air at least, that you would just get by running in clean air. We all provide clean air, of course, as much as we can anyway, as the trucks all run on 100% renewable HVO diesel in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, part of the incredible sustainability methods and the big push on sustainability that we make season on season. Now, that bodywork flapping around on the back of Lucas Hahn's truck is not some inventive active aerodynamic device that they in Iveco have come up with. That's just the rear wheel arch that has been knocked into at some point and is flapping away. You would expect the air to just push down on the front of that and almost weld it to the tyre, but basically because of the spinning air that is coming off, the centrifugal force that comes off the tyre and pushes air upwards and forwards, it's lifting it away from the wheel. So for Lucas, it's actually quite an ideal scenario because he gets either a tiny bit of downforce from that left rear, but also it means that it keeps it away from rubbing on the tyre and causing an issue. We've had a black and white flag for John Newell, truck 18 at turn 4. So he's just had track limits on the exit of turn 4, I believe. He's just going to have hit one of the penalty markers down there. As there was Sasha Lenz and Jamie Anderson both trying to cut the last corner as finely as they can. Now, after me saying that you don't want to sit behind the truck in front of you, Jamie has sat perfectly behind Sasha Lenz all the way down the start-finish straight this time round. But Sasha is definitely looking on the pace right now, and considering how his morning started with losing a lap time in qualifying because of an overspeeding warning, he's now right on the money and chasing down Jochen Hahn for second position. And all this time, Norbert Kish is disappearing over the horizon. If Norby carries on, he's going to be on his way to win number 87 of his career, and it would be his 8th race win of the season. There's a big battle further back as well with Steffi Hahn, with Lucas Hahn and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. This trio still fighting away. Has that bodywork come off Lucas? No, of course it hasn't. It's not come off Lucas Hahn's truck at all. It's just waving ironically or sarcastically at Jose Eduardo Rodriguez right now, saying catch me if you can. It's good branding to bring the attention to the Alcoa wheels that a lot of the trucks run on in the championship. There's another partner of the championship as well, Alcoa wheels, with their wonderful aluminium truck wheels, whether they be for our racing machines or your trucks on the road as well, on the public highways. Look at the speed that they carry through there, through turns 9 and 10. It's awesome, isn't it? I remind you again, these things are 5 tons and they corner like that. It's really incredible to see it. Obviously, they don't set the fastest lap times in the world because of the inertia and the weight of the things, but still, they put on some pretty pokey lap times indeed. I can tell you that Norbert Kish has so far set a new lap record around the circuit. It was going to be easy to set a lap record around here at least once this weekend because of the fact that it's our first time here. But at the moment, he's done a 1 minute 57.893, which is about half a tenth of a second faster than what he managed yesterday, a 1:57.956. So Norbert Kish, current lap record holder in more than one way. His qualifying time, though, now that was something else. It was a 1:56.606. So he was another good 1.2 seconds quicker than what he's done now, but it's different in race trim to qualifying trim. Norby often can do his qualifying pace in the races, but he isn't feeling the need to push that hard at the moment to overdo it. You don't want to add any more risk to your race and risk obviously making a mistake or even just having a component fail by pushing the truck harder than you need to. Someone that's definitely pushing his truck harder, but not more than he needs to at the moment, is Sasha Lenz. He's all over the back of Jochen Hahn, trying to find a way through. Can't quite do it at this moment in time. It's going to take quite the send from Sasha. But I wonder for how long is Jamie Anderson going to be this patient? He knows that the team's championship is important. He knows as well that Sasha is his teammate. And obviously he doesn't want to cause a battle between the two of them that could drop them away from Jochen Hahn here. Jochen, a 6-time champion in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. He's got 116 race wins coming into this weekend, with nearly 300 podium appearances from 652 starts as of this race. Andre Kursim's closing down on them as well, actually. He's getting closer and closer lap after lap, is Andre. There is Stefan Faas and John Newell as well. John Newell has been given another warning for turn 10 for the black and white flag, which is for the penalty markers, which we saw just a moment ago on our screen. And I've been told as well that number 66, which is Jonathan Andre, has been given a black and white flag also for penalty markers down at turn 3 for track limits there. John Newell and Jonathan Andre actually gained a place on that previous lap as well over Louis Requenco, who was dropped down to the back of the pack. And he's just coming into shot in the background there. But now, what was a trio has become almost a quintet like we had for the lead yesterday. Steffi Halm ahead of Lucas Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, Mark Taylor, and then Antonio Albacete just behind. There's a lot of dust being kicked up this lap round, as everybody tries to push the limits of the circuit and get as much usage out of every bit of the track that they can. Antonio's going to be a little bit impatient here, I think, although, like Christina said before in the paddock, he is one of the most experienced drivers on the circuit, if not the most, actually. He's not had as many starts as Jochen Hahn, but he's had more podiums. I think Antonio is definitely the man to be at the back of a pack like this, to pick them off sensibly and one by one when it suits him. He's actually already gone down the inside of Mark Taylor. Mark isn't fighting it too hard, I don't think. He just wants to try and stay within a point-scoring position for the overall championship, although I say that, he's actually defending now as they go into turn 7, the left-hander. But we look here at Steffi Halm, Lucas Hahn and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. Antonio Albacete has the inside line on the exit of turn 8. And Antonio Albacete is through. Antonio goes up into 9th position now, ahead of Mark Taylor, and he will set his sights on the Promoters Cup drivers in front of him. Mark Taylor still 3rd in the category, but he's ahead of those two there, Stefan Faas and John Newell. But he'll be hoping that Albacete can somehow hold up Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Lucas Hahn, potentially give him a chance at taking a win in a Promoters Cup race. He's had a good season of it so far as Mark Taylor. There's been a good battle going on actually between himself and John Newell in terms of who's going to be the highest placed Brit in the Promoters Cup. The battle continues though at the front for Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz. They're now 8 seconds behind Norbert Kish, who continues to disappear over the horizon. We're on lap 8 out of 11 here at Tor Poznań. The timer or counter in the top left of your screen tells us how many laps we have completed. And as more dust gets kicked up, like an aerobatics display team on the exit of turn 1. I'd like to remind you that because these trucks run on 100% renewable HVO diesel, there are no such emissions and horrible fumes that come out of our machines. There's black smoke rule in the championship as well, which is also enforced by Lambda sensors, which is a sensor within the exhaust system that manages the chemicals and the balance of the emissions that come out of our trucks. But it is all green, clean fun in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. You'll see a lot of the trucks are starting to adopt the 5th wheel design that we've got, actually. The little green coupling on the back of them. All 5 trucks in shot here are carrying them. They've got these fantastically branded 100% HVO diesel 5th wheels on them as part of the series branding. It's a lovely addition to have, actually. A lot of championships that I commentate on tend to have same windscreen banners, or like the number boards that we have here where the drivers' numbers are displayed on their trucks. They're all in the same style with the same logos and the same design in general on them, the same numbers and all sorts. Having that togetherness as part of a championship, it's just one of those finer details that just makes a difference to viewers, that, you know, they all know that they're all tied together in the same series, but having these green 5th wheels on the back of them looks really cool. And it's another element of something that keeps my nerdy motorsport brain very, very happy. Antonio Albacete will be a bit happier now as well. I won't say he's very happy, but he's right behind Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Lucas Hahn. He's managed to catch up to them as John Newell continues to chase Stefan Fast. They go underneath the bridge down towards turn for 14, not 13. I'm not speaking that much like a commoner today, hopefully. But Fast is just outside of the points here, but still it's Promoters' Cup points that matter to these guys as well. So John Newell will be giving it everything to try and get by the Scania in front of him in his beautiful white and metallic blue MAN with the bright yellow Techstar windscreen banner across the front of the windscreen as he chases down the bright yellow rear end of Stefan Fast's Scania. They're carrying the Man Filter branding this season. Sounds like somebody was lighting up the rears there on the exit of turn 1. I think it was Jonathan Andre just slightly overdoing it as John Newell looks down the inside of Stefan, tries to force a mistake out of him. There's been a second warning for Antonio Albacete now at turn 10 for hitting the penalty markers once more. And an element of the race that we need to consider is, of course, that 10-second penalty lingering over Jamie Anderson. So as it finishes right now, he'd be 21 seconds back from the race leader, which puts him behind Mark Taylor, actually, in 10th place. So everybody would move up a spot and Jamie would still get 1 championship point, but Mark Taylor would end up getting 2. So I'm sure he'd be very grateful if he can stay within a certain distance. But as Norbert Kish gets further and further away and the field spreads more and more apart, that penalty is going to become a little bit less severe in terms of how it affects Jamie's race result. Let's see what it's like then as they cross the line. Norbert Kish, the Hungarian, continues on in dominant fashion again here. He's on lap 9, going on to lap 10 now at Tor Poznań. Round 11 of the 2023 season this is. The 3rd race of the weekend. In just a couple of weeks' time, and trust me, it'll fly around very quickly, the 15th and 16th of July, we head to the Nürburgring for the ADAC International Truck Grand Prix. 4 more races there, rounds 13 to 16. In August, towards the end of August, after quite a break, we're going to Most in the Czech Republic. Then at the beginning of September, we go to Belgium to Zolder. And then at the end of September, we go back to back. We go to Le Mans on the Bugatti circuit in France. And then straight away, a week later, we find ourselves in Madrid at Jarama in Spain to round out the season once again. It's a great time of year for the championship. I'm delighted to be saying that I will be heading back out to those events in person as well. So you'll have me on site for the weekends. So unfortunately, as well as hearing my annoying voice, you'll have to see my annoying face as well. So I can only apologise, everybody. But luckily, Jochen Hahn doesn't have to see my annoying face this weekend, but he's got the annoying bright blue and bright purple machines behind him, I suppose. Sasha Lenz in 3rd place, Jamie Anderson in 4th. With that penalty lingering over him, though, he's obviously got a lot more to think about than just the position on the road. Andre Kurzin behind him. I'm not sure whether he'll know that Jamie's got a penalty. His team might have communicated that to him and said, look, you don't need to push too hard to get past this guy. He's going to drop down the order anyway with the penalty that he's got. But if anything right now, with Jochen Hahn defending like this from Sasha Lenz at the front, it's actually bringing this field closer and closer together. So it's making it more likely for Jamie Anderson that Mark Taylor will finish in front of him when the timer falls. So we'll have to see, or when the checkered flag falls, I should say. There is a penalty marker there rolling back down the circuit towards our drivers, which is far from ideal, but it's only foam. At the end of the day, they could run over these things all day and not have any issues. We go on to the final lap then, on to lap 11. And Norbert Kish, there is the gap. You can see a big, big lead for the Hungarian on his way to win number 87 in his fantastic career. And Sasha Lenz has one more chance to have a pop at Jochen Hahn. Can he do it? Place your bets now, everybody. Kick up of the dust there by Jochen on the exit of turn 1. Sasha's going to be feeling that he's got him on the ropes slightly as Jose Eduardo Rodriguez comes under investigation for speeding. Now, he was right behind Lucas Hahn for the win in the Promoters' Cup in this race, so if a penalty comes of that, it's certainly going to affect it. He's in that quartet in the background. We've got these great battle packs going on right now. They're all grouping together. But Jochen's definitely not had the pace in this race that we would have expected from him. And here is Sasha Lenz looking down the inside again. He's not going to go for it this time. Closes right in on the brakes as Andre Kurzim gets nice and friendly with the back of Jamie Anderson's MAN as well. It's an MAN sandwich right now with Iveco bread. I'm not sure how that would taste, to be honest. And there's a 10-second time penalty. There you go. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez in the blue truck there. The blue, white and red machine in the middle of this has been given a 10-second penalty. So not only does that help out the trucks directly around him, but it also helps out Jamie Anderson because Jose Eduardo will drop down quite a lot as well. So the positions that Jamie loses because of his penalty will be negated slightly by Jose Eduardo also having that problem. So that actually promotes Stefan Faas onto the Promoters' Cup podium, essentially. Or does it? No, it doesn't actually, because Stefan is, well, over 10 seconds back from Jose Eduardo. We'll figure out the maths in just a moment. But one thing we don't need to work hard on figuring out is that Norbert Kish wins round 11 of the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship here at Tor Poznań. And second place is going to go the way of Jochen Hahn with Sasha Lenz in third position. A great battle all race long. They may not have been at each other's throats. They may not have been overtaking and dicing too much, but it's the intrigue of the chase, isn't it, between those two. And Norbert Kish takes another very impressive victory. Jamie Anderson will drop down the order, though, to behind Mark Taylor. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez will drop down, but not lower than Stefan Faas. So in the Promoters' Cup, it's going to be another win for Lucas Hahn. Very well done to him. Mark Taylor is going to finish in second place in the Promoters' Cup. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez will finish in third. So Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn, Sasha Lenz, the same podium that we had yesterday in race one, actually. There'll be some drifting on the show now, I'm sure, with very little weight over the rear end in comparison to the front. These trucks do drift very well. There's the Revesh Racing team, very happy after yet another race victory. Like I say, it becomes standard procedure for these guys now. They've got such a fantastic team, a great squad of people there, all working together in great harmony. There's Jochen beeping his way past Sasha Lenz. And Jamie Anderson behind as well will be gutted about that 10-second penalty, but at the end of the day, there was quite the collision earlier on that affected one of his competitors' races. And you have to be able to take the flak for that, I'm afraid. He tried what he could down the inside, but ultimately became the cause of said incident. There is Baloo, which I make sure that I overpronounce now because I don't want to sound like I'm calling a bright red truck blue. Because I think we all know that it definitely isn't blue. Norby won't be blue either. He'll be very, very happy after another race win. That's going to be race number 8 of his 2023 campaign. It's also going to be the 8th time that he's been on the podium. So he's not actually been on the podium this season when he hasn't won a race, has Norbert Kish. How interesting is that? So not once this season has he finished second or third in a race. It's always been first place when he's been on the podium. And other than that, he's been outside of podium finishing positions. Jochen Hahn adds another one to his tally, while Antonio Albersetti does not get a podium once again. So now he brings that gap down to 4 podiums between the two in the hunt for the all-time record. As Antonio has 284 podiums, and now Jochen has 280. Such massive figures, massive statistics. Really good stuff. Antonio Albersetti will, we believe, get 7th position. Again, thank you to Alice Holloway for sending me the calculations. My mental arithmetic is absolutely pathetic, to be fair, so I'm glad Alice could figure it out. And that may put Mark Taylor on pole position for the second race, so we'll have to wait and see. But there is Norbert Kish, Truck 1, P1, yet again. And the horn you can hear there is the horn that sounds when machines enter the pit lane. More horns sounding, though, from the trucks themselves. And our Promoters' Cup podium will make their way in as well. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez will have the 3rd place spot and move over to the left-hand side, while Mark Taylor will take 2nd place. There's what's left of Antonio Albasetti's truck making its way back around the track, or down the pit lane, I should say. I'm sure the team will welcome a points finish after that one. A great drive by Antonio, it has to be said. But once again, another solid drive by Norbert Kish. Both arms in the air. And a very happy man. He just continues winning time and time again. And everybody, once again, does their job and does it well at the Revace Racing squad. There is Csaba Bako on the left-hand side. A real star is Csaba. Introduced me to the wonderful drink that's known as Pelinka, though, and I'll never forgive him for that. And the fans now have a bit of a break before our final race of the weekend, which will come up a little bit later on. We're not sure if there will be a delay to that yet, though, so bear with us on that. And another hug there for Norbert Kish, race winner. And there is Jochen Hahn, another podium for him, and more solid points. There's Frank the Tank on the right-hand side. My lovely friend Frank. Can't wait to see everybody again from the championship when we head to the Nürburgring. Anyway, before I get sentimental, look at that. Norbert Kish takes the race win, followed by 5 German drivers in a row due to Jamie Anderson's penalty. So Jochen Hahn finishes second, Sascha Lenz in third, Andre Kursin moves up to fourth ahead of Steffi Halm, who gets a top 5. Lucas Hahn wins in the Promoters' Cup. Antonio does get 7th place, thank you Alice. Mark Taylor in 8th position will get pole position, and look at that, by 0.16 of a second over Jamie after the penalty gets applied. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez maintains a top 10 finish, 26 seconds off the top spot. Stefan Fast was next up, still finishing ahead of John Newell, with Jonathan Andre in 13th and Louis Requenco rounding out the field. Nice to see Jonathan Andre found a bit more pace in that race, actually. The Frenchman gradually getting quicker as the weekend gets on. Him and the team have really been struggling for pace so far, but someone that's not been struggling so far is Christina, who's down there in the pit lane.
Yes, thank you very much. With Jochen Hahn, wow, that was a race, red flagged. What did you see?
It's a big accident. Jamie, you know, he goes somewhere where is no place. We are 3 cars in the corner, so it's impossible to do it without crash. But you know, you can do 2 things: braking and say okay, or you can go on your line and hold it, and then we have a big crash and a big accident. And yeah, after this, my toe from the front axle, it's completely out, and then I fight hard with Sascha, and I can hold him, but he's much faster in this race. But okay, anyway, 2nd place, very happy. Congrats to Nobby and Sascha and to me, and that's it.
Absolutely. So as you know, Jamie Anderson has got a penalty, 10 seconds for the incident in turn number 1. Is this the 2nd day? You're already all getting experience, a little bit more right now. You said you congrats to yourself for the 2nd space. So how happy are we with the outcome?
Yeah, it seems like I'm the winner, you know. Well, this is not normal. And from this side, I feel like I'm on the 1st place in the moment. So it's not possible to beat him. So I'm the winner behind Nobby, that's true. But I'm happy with this, and we try to change it.
That's good. Celebrate with the team, Jan. Congratulations. And we do celebrate with our winners too, our commentators.
Always feel like a winner when I'm commentating on truck racing, Christina. Thank you very much indeed. There you can see the rubber marks down the side, the tyre marks on Jochen Hahn's machine, and then his son's truck as well behind him, Lucas Hahn, truck number 22. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez there alongside him, and Mark Taylor, who finished 2nd in the Promoters' Cup in that race. Fantastic stuff for Mark, and he will obviously be on pole position for the next race. There's Davide Califano from Goodyear. One of the coolest names in the paddock, that, isn't it? Davide Califano. What a bloke. Lovely guy as well. Very enthusiastic about what he does. And there is the 100% HVO little coupling on the back of the trucks, which now stands very proud amongst most of our racing machines. There you can see the size of that mudguard that came away as well. It's just a couple of bolts that hold that on. All it takes is one little push against that and a crack, and it can come away. But you can see just the scale of that one piece of bodywork that has come free. And you can see what it's being held on by as well. It's incredible, isn't it? But there's so much going on in these trucks, and one of the best things about them is that they are so accessible. You can actually stand between the bodywork and the chassis rails and work on them. And a lot of the time, if you do ever go and see truck racing in person, you'll see a lot of the personnel stood inside the back of the truck working on the engines, and it's just a really cool thing to see. It's different to many other forms of motorsport in so many ways. There was also the water tanks down the side of them as well there, the very big prominent silver water tanks which the trucks carry. Now, a lot of you would obviously think that's just unnecessary ballast, but when they have to cool the brakes actively with water jets, they need somewhere to store it, of course, over the course of the race. And a lot of the time when we have our qualifying sessions and then Super Pole sessions, you'll see the trucks set their fast lap in qualifying 1, and then they'll come in and drain the tanks almost completely empty until they've just got enough for one fast lap in Super Pole, take a lot of the weight out of the machine, and then go back out and set a blistering time. So there's even strategy in terms of how much water the trucks are carrying between sessions to consider in this championship. Here are our podium finishes then. Sascha Lenz, 3rd place. And Jochen Hahn finishing in 2nd. He'll be saying, I nearly had you. But as expected, there was damage on Jochen Hahn's truck from that early incident. Something I didn't really pick up on during the race, admittedly. But something we did pick up on was the fact that Norbert Kisch once again dominated the first race of the day and did a great, great job as trophies are now given out to our podium finishers. Handshakes all round and smiles from everybody. And Norbert Kisch now receives his trophy for the race win as the brass band in the background play. That's awesome to add to the vibe, isn't it? I love that.
2nd place, Jochen Hahn, number 2 from Germany, and 1st place, Norbert Kisch, number 1 from Hungary.
And there you go, then Norbert Kisch takes another race victory. And I believe we will have the national anthem of Hungary next up. And there you go, the Hungarian national anthem. I know that one of my fans will be very happy, Gail. There's an ongoing discussion of the fact that some circuits don't play the national anthems in full, which is a very valid point. I know there's probably a good argument as to why not. Sometimes maybe due to delays in the programme or, you know, just trying to get a podium presentation over quickly. There's certain elements of why they need to and why sometimes they can prolong them. But still, I know that Gail will be happy with that one. The Hungarian national anthem ringing out around the Polish circuit of Poznań for Norbert Kisch. And these top 3 drivers on our podium are usually the top 3 drivers up there as well, some of the very finest in our series. The champagne will get sprayed now. Not sure whether that will be sprayed at each other, like I say, because of the fact that they have another race coming up in just a couple of hours' time. And it will usually be the fans and the media that tend to get drenched. Sascha, I think, is threatening Norby gradually with the fact that he's going to soak him, and yeah, he's decided to get the pair of them. He's such a troublemaker, is Sascha. He's a real joker. Absolutely hilarious. Oh, well, he's got just desserts there. He deserves that one. Great fun. Great fun. And that's what it's all about in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Everyone gets on and has such great camaraderie. It's just a very pleasant place to be. Now we're going to get the Promoters Cup podium in just a moment, but first we'll have a look at the championship standings. Norbert Kiss now at 142 points to the 118 of Jochen Hahn. He's had 2 great race meetings so far, so he's getting away. Sascha Lenz is now 3 points clear of Antonio Albacete after that race, with Andre Kurzim in 5th place, now ahead of Steffi Halm. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez going well in 7th as Jamie Anderson continues his rise up the order. He's now ahead of Stefan Faas, and Lucas Hahn, in just his first race meeting, is now into the top 10 in the championship. John Newell and Mark Taylor are still tied for Best Brit in terms of their little Promoters Cup battle, let's say. They're 11th and 12th, Jonathan Andre, Louis Requenco and Heinrich Clemens Hecker. And just a quick shout to Jamie Anderson's social media manager. I'm not saying Jamie's not British, but you know what I mean. It's the Promoters Cup fight I was focusing on. Let's look at the Promoters Cup podium then, shall we? The first driver to make his way up there is going to be a driver that's been on said podium 9 times before this one, actually, this season. He's the first driver to get into double digits in terms of his podium performances. 10th podium of the season for Jose Eduardo Rodriguez after his penalty. Mark Taylor gets another podium this weekend. That's his 3rd in a row. A great job by Mark and the team this weekend. They're doing a smashing job. And then Lucas Hahn, the German superstar, makes his way up, helps Mark onto the podium. He doesn't slip onto it this time. And the trophies are now given out as well. You've got to be careful with Lucas Hahn's handshakes. He's got one hell of a handshake behind him. He'll break your thumb. And there we go. The trophies are given out, and we'll get the German national anthem played out. And there you go, the German national anthem for Lucas Hahn. He'll be over the moon with that one after another Promoters Cup race victory. Great start to his campaign. He won't be with us for each race this season, which is a massive shame, but he will be back with us for the Nürburgring and Most in the Czech Republic as well. And we certainly look forward to seeing him there for the point scoring that will no doubt take place. Let's see if that hat gets launched skywards. It does not, because it's time for champagne. Now, who's going to crack the bottle first? Of course, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, not just rapid in the truck, but rapid at opening bottles of champagne as well, it seems. And the fans and media get drenched as ever, and they all know that they've got another race to think about later on. I'm not sure if they're going to help Mark down off the podium, make sure he doesn't slip again. Hopefully not. But still, great to have a wonderful crowd gathered around our podium presentation for the Promoters Cup, and that's how the championship looks. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez now certainly running clear ahead of Stefan Faas after an early season battle. Stefan's bad luck has really plagued him recently. Mark Taylor now moves ahead of John Newell and gains quite a few points over him. Louis Requenco sits in 5th place. Lucas Hahn now clear of Jonathan Andre and Heinrich Clemens Hecker in 8th position. And once again, it goes nice and quiet around the circuit here at Tor Poznań now that all of the fantastic truck racing has been completed, just for a couple of hours, because of course we will be back for another race very soon. But why don't we have a quick look back at how that one all unfolded and see what the best of the action was. So it was all high spirits at the front of the grid with Antonio Albacete and Norbert Kisch on the front row. Even the inflatables were getting excited as everyone made sure that they got very positively prepared for the first race of the day. Norbert Kisch starting from pole again, was looking for service as usual. But as we did get underway, there was a three-wide battle round the outside of turn 1, including Antonio Albacete, Jamie Anderson and Jochen Hahn. And unfortunately, it ended up with Antonio Albacete off and into the barriers with a big hit on the left-hand side of the track. The race was red flagged, and luckily and amazingly, Antonio and the team managed to get the truck back out there on the circuit with the help of Don't Touch Racing Berlin and others as well. There was a wonderful turnaround. It was great for our cameras to be there to witness it, and Christina down there to give us her thoughts on the action. We even had Big Tom bending the truck back into place as well, showing his true strength. And then the race got back underway. Sascha Lenz immediately putting Jochen Hahn under pressure, but Jochen, carrying damage from the earlier incident, would not be able to streak away, and a great battle would unfold while Norbert Kisch led us once again. There were a couple of penalties given out to Jamie Anderson and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez that would eventually shake up the order, but a lot of people held firm and just held their positions and scored necessary points that they need to in these first races of each day. Like I said before, they're very important due to the higher scoring nature of races 1 and 3 of the weekend. Norbert Kisch takes another win though, as it's number 87 of his career, ahead of Jochen Hahn and Sascha Lenz. We'll go very quickly down to Christina.
Thank you, Chaz. And as Andreas Ahn said, next chapter of the Hahn Festival. Wie sieht's aus?
Yeah, we had a good race, a good start. Directly in the first round, I can overtake Rodriguez. And yeah, I was then behind Steffi, and I had a good speed. I can follow her really, really good. And I think I have, I can give a little bit more power, but you know, it's really hard to overtake here on the tracks, and it will be not fair or it's really hard to overtake fair. I need to say it like that. But we had a really good race. I think 6th overall after the penalties from other drivers, and first in the Promoters Cup.
That sounds really good, yes. Rodriguez, he got a 10-second penalty. Also, Jamie Anderson, due to the incident in turn number 1. Then the race got red flagged at first. How do you cope with that situation?
Yeah, you are in the race mood. The first start was really good. I moved into the front to the 4th position, and I say, oh, nice. Now we drive race. I had Sascha behind me, but then I see the red flag, and yeah, then it's, oh, okay, something bigger happens, and you are just looking in the mirror. Okay, you see some drivers, but you didn't know what happens behind you, and yeah, then the red flag situation. Then you need to come down because the adrenaline is really high. Then you stay again at the grid, and then yeah, one more start, and the adrenaline moves up really quickly.
And Antonio Albacete, fortunately, he could join the race afterwards with a great team effort from they have lots of helping hands, which is usual right now in truck racing, which is really great to see. Speaking of adrenaline, one more race to come this weekend. How do you deal with that adrenaline? Yeah,
I need to handle it. Yeah, I think I can handle it really good. I have a little bit pressure you need if you are driving races, but I think I can handle it really good, and we were looking forward to have a good race 4.
We do too. Thank you very much, Lucas Ahn. Congratulations for the podium and win it all. And yes, we are so glad that we could see race number 4. Our adrenaline needs to rise then as well. But we do got our alarm clock set for race number 4 this weekend here in Tor Poznań. It's been a pleasure so long. Please join us on our last race. As you can see, the track has been cleaned right now. And so we do get some fresh air as well. And then we see each other back then. Bye. Ciao.